often talk about the power of no. I don't know what has been ingrained in so many, women, myself, and so many women that I know. It's like our yes meter just wants to go off all the time. It's like, yes, I want to help you do that. And I want to be part of this. And it's like, but we can't. And I heard this somewhere and I can't recall exactly where it was, but it was the idea of you can do everything, but you don't have to do everything right now.
Welcome back, guys, for another episode of Dreamers Den podcast. It's so great to be back after a short break. I remember like a few episodes back, I talked to you guys about rolling out the Mompreneur Manual, the book that I co-authored with Stacie Barber of Roadmap to Balance for Moms. So that's a go now, and so many opportunities and doors are opening from that. And we just opened our first the Mompreneur Manual strategy group coaching, and that's been going well. We have some other things in store, but it's great to be back. So I'm getting things back rolling with the podcast, and I'm starting off with a special guest today. She's awesome, and I'm so glad to have her on here. Stacie Barber, who is a transformational mindset and life coach for women. And she works with women who want to come back to themselves in mind, body, and soul. She loves guiding her clients to trust in their inner compass and to stop second guessing themselves, which is awesome. A lot of us do that. So, but through mastering the art of turning down the volume, external expectations, and tuning back into their inner knowing, the women she supports begin to remember who they were before the world. Stacie genuinely believes that each woman has the ability to create a life free of apology and full of opportunity. She provides soulful, authentic mentorship and guidance through curated transformation and opportunity containers throughout the coaching relationship at her brick and mortar studio, The Mindful Body. So we're going to talk to her today about her business and about being a business owner and a mompreneur, and just how that's been going so far. And she's going to give you guys some tips about, reconnecting with yourself and listening to that inner voice and being unapologetic about it. So thanks for joining us, Stacie.
Oh, thanks so much. That's a beautiful intro.
So I'm glad to have you on. And the first thing I want to do is give you the opportunity to tell us a little more about yourself. Tell us about your business and just how you got started with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you and your community and tribe. And I don't take that lightly. I appreciate everybody's time so much, especially being a mom and in business. And so thank you for being here and listening, and for the opportunity to share a bit about me and my story and sort of what got me to where I am today. And really, when people ask me, what is it that got you to where you are, or how did you end up in this space? I really truthfully say, and the answer is life has been my greatest teacher in so many ways and avenues that have sort of pivoted me and detoured me into this journey that has reached where I am now. And I'm so grateful for that, because in the moments that it's actually happening, sometimes it feels really confusing and scary and unsure. And so really the whole process of that has been one that I can turn back and say, with 2020 vision, oh, I get it. Like, I understand why I went through some of these things. And really, my story begins as a young child. I grew up in a family home where my father struggled with alcoholism. And so really starting to feel the energies in my house at a very young age, feeling what it was like when dad was at home, when he wasn't at home, all of those different components, and really feeling I'm the big sister of two. So really sort of taking on this protector role. Like, I've got to, I almost took on this little she bear, I've got to take care of me and my sister and my mom. But from a young age, I knew that I wanted to really help people and take care of people and serve. And I really feel like I've got this God-given gift of just connecting with other people. And so being able to process that at a young age, going through all the motions of that, was really a skill building component for me in our home. And then as my parents' marriage ended up terminating, as a teenager, I ended up going through a lot of rebellion and different parts of life that have also been my greatest teacher. Long story short, I found out I was pregnant at the age of 17. It was unplanned pregnancy with someone that was not meant to be my life partner. It was very clear. I ended up making the most difficult decision of my life of terminating the pregnancy. And anyone that has experienced that or knows someone that has experienced that, they understand that there is this hole that comes after that. And the way I've described it is really, it felt as if the nurse handed me a blanket of shame, not from her, but that's the way I really took it on myself, as that I was flawed in some way from that point on. That really put me into a tailspin of really unhealthy ways of thinking and being that I felt, it hit me like rock bottom. I got to that space where I was so ashamed of my choices and my decisions that I really couldn't find a way to forgive myself for so long. And as I began to get to that space of really feeling like there was no place lower than I could get, there was this little nudge inside that said, reminded me that you have a choice. In any given moment, we have a choice as to how we're going to allow a circumstance to be part of our experience or allow it to define us, a choice to be able to move forward or to stay exactly where we're at. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, it felt like little beams of light coming in for me to be able to realize for myself that, yes, I do have a choice of what this means for me and what this looks like moving forward. And that really was such a huge catalyst for the rest of my life to take ownership back into my hands and realize that no matter what choices I've made or things that have happened in my life or experiences that I've had, they can all be learning experiences that I can grow and learn from. But at the end of the day, they don't have to define me. And I'm the one that gets to decide if they do or not. Right. And so being able to take that back was so, so healing. And going through the healing process myself, having to go through deep inner work to find the ability to forgive myself, to move through the process of all of the pain that had caused, really started to give me the tools for myself so that I could process the healing in my own body. So then I could in turn around and help others going through the same thing, different parts of that. And so being able to have that opportunity at such a young age was so empowering for me, because it reminded me of the power of healing, that it's always available, that we can find it within ourselves. We have tribes of people that are there to help us. And that really helped set me on the path of, okay, what does this look like? How do I want to help people? And I've done that in so many facets. I'm so grateful to be able to, I've done it in a hospital setting as an occupational therapist. I own, like you said, the Mindful Body. It's a Pilates and mindful movement studio. I get to work with amazing clients there through coaching, which really is my heart. I love it so much, being able to just meet another human on the other end of a screen or a phone or in person, and help them start to see all of these things within them, that they have the power to be able to shift the trajectory of their life. They have the power to make different choices for themselves, and really help instill that confidence and go down to the depths of the beliefs and values and other things that might have been holding them back, so that we can really start to excavate that. It's sort of like a whole landscape project. Start to excavate the ground and the garden. Yeah. And so that's really, it started such a, I can look at the whole journey of life, and at each point there has been something that has been a learning component that has helped me get to where I am today.
Fantastic. I really appreciate your transparency about the things that you've experienced. Like I too am um I come from a family like who went through divorce as an early in my teenage years, so I can understand that. And then like even with what you went through, like you said at 17, a lot of women they still hide that in shame or I've been told that you may think that it's going to go away in that moment, but you still carry that with you as if you took the child home with you. And so I really appreciate your transparency and just speaking about that healing process and that it is possible. And it's so awesome how you were able to turn, that pain into a purpose and helping other people to get through similar situations. So that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well, I really truly believe like the power of our story is so impactful. And if we keep it covered, if we keep it under the blanket, what good is it doing for anyone? And
Right.
Especially a situation like that was so painful. If that was it, if that was like put the period at the end of the sentence, like done, what was the purpose? And I love the way you said that, finding purpose in the pain, because it really truly is so important. And I have witnessed and experienced so many times when I'm transparent about my story or someone else's, how much it impacts someone that might be sitting across the room that has gone through the exact same thing, that has not gotten to that space to be able to share it yet, but they know in that moment that they're not alone. And I always go back to the Maya Angelou quote, like, we're more alike than we are different. And how are we going to know that if we don't talk about it? And so that's really the whole, for me, that is the way that I share my truth and my word. It is, you get what you see, and what you see is what you get. So
So speaking of that, transparency, I think that like last year and everything that we went through with COVID has kind of shifted a lot of people into coming together and telling their stories and being more transparent. But also with COVID, like with you having a physical location, like with a mindful body being a physical location, how do you handle risk management like previously and now, like going forward? And has that kind of nudged you into starting an online business or considering starting an online business?
Yeah. Oh man, it has significantly changed. How many ways can I tell the ways? It's so with the Pilates studio, anybody that's been to a studio that they have the Pilates equipment, we have a lot of the equipment and springs and different things that we have to get them checked regularly. And there is always opportunity for something to potentially happen, right? So we kind of have to hold a little bit of a higher risk management than, say, like a studio that has just mats. So that's already sort of in our background. But then you come into, you get to the space where you have to physically close your doors, and then, which is terrifying for any business owner, period, because you don't know if you're going to be able to open them back up, and if you do, when, right? And then on top of that, the process of reopening in a safe and responsible manner that is conscious of every population, every age group that comes into your doors. It's a whole different ball game. And I am so grateful. We really came back in very conservative. We started back in very slow. We were very mindful, not to be cliche at all about the name, but we were very mindful about how we came into that reopening process, because I wanted to make it very clear that we truly cared that people felt safe, that they felt that we were caring for them, that they felt like this was a space that they could come to continue to heal, to not have to worry about picking something up. Or so I'm so grateful for that, because of that process, because we decided to sort of keep it like a soft opening. As things have continued to open up, it's just organically grown, and people have felt really cared for through the whole process, versus, all right, it's full house, everybody's back in, like, let's all come, doors are open. It was a real conscious way of bringing people back in. And I can see, and even the last like month, that as people are getting vaccinated and feeling a much more safe, that there is a different energy that they're bringing into the studio. But I can tell you, the thing that really made the biggest impact for me, our clients are amazing, hands down. The people that came back to the studio right when the doors were open, and as they continued, they're so grateful to be there. They're so happy to be able to come and move and breathe and take care of themselves, that I have been fed so much on the energy of the people that are there and the instructors. Like, we came back with this sense of, thank God we have this place. Thank God we have this community, this space. I had this one gentleman, he's such a love. He's probably in his mid 70s. And he came up to me and he said, thank you so much for keeping the doors open, because this place is like my second home. And I don't know what I would do if it weren't here.
Wow.
That's why we're here. And, from the very beginning, when we had to close the doors, it was a true test of trust and surrender. And I offered it up to the universe. I said, listen, if we're meant to reopen, help us stay afloat. And if we're meant to close the doors and this be it, help me process that and be okay with that in the moment. And I really stayed true to that anytime I would start to feel, that sense of nervousness or anxiousness come up, it was like, listen, this is out of my control. This is out of all of our control at that point. I'm just going to take one day at a time. And because of that, it's been a really healing process for a lot of us. It helped us really sit with ourselves for a bit and realize what it is that we're wanting to spend our time on and our energy. And, for that, I'm grateful, for sure.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. First of all, I commend you for the way that you said you handle the reopening, because I've seen it handled different ways. I've actually seen some people who never close, but
right.
but zip the lips on that. But
yeah, exactly.
I commend the way you handled it, and I think that people appreciate that and they remember that. And like you said, it's helped you, to grow even more. So it's because of that. And then the way that you said that you kind of just took your hands off of it and offered it back, offered it up to the universe. And that kind of helped with not being anxious about it. I think that's a lesson for everybody, a lesson, like you said, in just even in what you teach, and like how to how to not, I guess, get worried or look at what else is going on around you or what someone else has going on, and to just stay focused and, like you said, stay faithful, stay grateful, and stay positive about it.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you. Thanks. It was, I'm just grateful to have really gone through so many other processes in life to be able to see this for what it was, that it was a situation that none of us expected. None of us had any idea would ever come into fruition, and that we literally had very little control over it at some points. And so, isn't that, it is. It's such a great lesson for all of us to just say, okay, like, what is it that I can control? I was just having this conversation with my 8-year-old the other day of, she was getting kind of worked up about something. It was like, okay, those things, or those something that someone else said or did, that's out of your control. What you can control is what's happening inside of you. And that's the only thing any of us can really control. Right. And so
right.
Taking my own medicine is always a good practice.
Right.
Yes.
That's so funny. Like, a friend of mine, she's an author too, but she had something going on, and she was talking to a friend about it, and her friend was like, well, maybe you should take your advice on page such and such in your book. And I
You're
was
like,
like,
oh yeah.
well, he told you, huh?
That's amazing.
But so, like, in your experience of working with these women, like, what would you say is like are some of the biggest reasons that they mistrust their gut in the first place? Like, would you say, like, in your experience, what have you observed have been the reasons why they go against like things that they may desire or changes that they may want to happen in their life?
Oh yeah, man. Well, number one, I think is what we could bucket into the term of conditioning, of what we've been told, what we've witnessed, what the world has not even consciously sort of said that we need to, figure out. Like, for instance, if you think about, I often go back to my mind of, going through the process of being in high school and, your sophomore and junior year, it's like, what are you going to major in? What are you going to, what's the plan? And so you got to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life before your brain's even fully developed. I still think there's something wrong with that, but hey, it's like, and then by the time you get to college, your sophomore, junior year of college, what internship are you going to get, and then what job, and then you get the job, and it's like the plan is to work in the job until you get your good benefits and retire, and then you get married. And the day that my husband and I got married, no lie, like 3 people came up to us and said, so when are you going to have babies, and I'm like, what, so there's this unspoken plan, and sometimes spoken, that we're supposed to follow, that there's like this big equal sign that says happiness after all of that, right? That this is the idea. That's complete BS. And that doesn't work for everyone. For some, yes, but for many, that is not the way that it looks. And so I think really, like, the conditioning that is just set in place, when we can really see it for what it is, that there's this structure that helps us understand the way that things can look, but that doesn't mean that's the way they have to look. And so I really feel like it's an opportunity for us to give ourselves permission to do things our way, the way that feels good. And I think so often, if we could be honest with ourselves, when we were in our younger years, we did things because we thought we were supposed to, or we should, right? And so really starting to, like I say a lot, turn down that noise, turn down the opinions and the objections and all the things that's coming in from everywhere, and really tune back in, because there's a little voice inside of us at all times. We came into the world with it, to be able to tune back in so that we can start to hear, like, is this something that lights me up? Is this a person that I want to be spending my time with? Is this a venture that I want to take on? Really coming back in. And I think our bodies speak to different people in different ways. Some people, they feel it in their heart. Some people feel it in their gut. Some people feel it, a tingling in their body. But whatever it is, being able to really allow ourselves to first become aware of the outside noise that's happening all around us at any given moment, to see it for what it is, and then to be able to say, okay, that is what I believe, or that isn't what I believe, and I'm going to check in here to really get clear on what it is that I truly desire and want to create and manifest in my life. And so really, I mean, I've experienced that in my life. I've got 2 little girls, they're 6 and 8. I can already see how that conditioning is sort of seeping in, and so it's so wild to be able to be in the seat of a mother at this point, to see that happening, and you're just like, no, so for me, that's really, I think so often we get caught in the idea of what we think we should do. And I think that's number one for sure. And to be able to just start to kind of break that down and get really honest with ourselves is a really healthy thing.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to seeing that. Like, even with my son at 3, he just turned 3, but just seeing, like, being mindful first of yourself and how they are observing you, but also like walking that thin line of being giving them guidance, but without like making them a wind up toy or some type of robot,
Right. Totally.
So yeah, it's like you
Mm.
said, those, not working on breaking that cycle of not putting those expectations or that pressure on them and letting them like start to understand, like you said, trusting your gut and your discernment.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the biggest things that has helped me, and one of the trainings that I've taken, is really debunking the idea that there's any such thing as failure, that it's always feedback, that there's no such thing as failure, that if we put something out into the world and we don't get the response that we think that we should have gotten, or what, looking at that not as I failed, I'm worthless, whatever the commentary is like that we have going on in the back of our head, but it's, what can I learn from this? What can I do
Right.
differently next time? And this also goes to like the young age. I mean, my oldest came home the other day and she's talking about A's and F's at school already, right? She's in second grade. And I'm like, God, this is how young we start to learn about the idea of failing. And
Mm-hmm.
it really is, it's not a truth. It's not relevant. And but again, it's having to come back to realizing that and breaking down the conditioning that we've been taught from such a young age, to realize like, okay, I've got to, if I do my best, I follow my heart, I am listening to my intuition and I'm going for it, I'm doing my best. That's all you can do. And you're going to learn from that experience. And so that has also been really paramount for me, personally, and then also being able to share that with others, that just go for it, right? You're only
Right.
going to get feedback.
Right. Now, I don't want you to give away all your secret sauce, but like what are some other tips that you can share, so like to help us start um living that unapologetic life that you speak of?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many great tools. A tool that I have been utilizing a lot lately is human design. And if anyone knows about that or doesn't
I've
know
heard
about
of
that,
that.
it's really great. And it essentially, the way it's described, it's like science and like astrology coming together and creating this really beautiful couple. But it helps you realize sort of who you came into the world to be, right? So it takes the moment that you came into Earth, took your first breath, how you sort of landed here and who it is that you're meant to be, the different qualities that you hold within. And so that has been really huge for my clients. They're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm finally seen, like that I'm understood. And it helps them so much make sense of themselves.
Mhm.
But beyond that, I really feel, getting back to becoming very clear and aware of the things that might be stuck in your subconscious mind. I once heard it called like something that's on the greatest hits that you would hear on the radio, the songs that play over and over and over, like them by heart because they're just playing all the time. There
Mhm.
is a record of sorts in the back of our mind that's on repeat, that it's always saying the same things, it's bringing up the same beliefs, values, and all different kinds of things, and getting really aware of, are those mine or are those things that I've picked up at some point of my journey? And
Mhm.
really getting honest with ourselves about what is it that is going on in this cycle, this record over and over again, that I can start to release, that I can replace with something that's really healthy. I often talk about the mind as a garden. And if you
Mhm.
think about like a rose garden or any type of garden, if you let the weeds take over, then there's no room for anything beautiful to start to grow and to harvest. And so that's
Yeah.
a process of really tending our minds as if it were a garden, going in and observing, seeing where the weeds are, going in and pulling the weeds, fertilizing the soil, right? Really cultivating a really beautiful, rich soil, watering, feeding, so that you can then begin to grow the things that you're wanting in your mind or in your garden. And so really starting to sit with ourselves in that. And there's so many beautiful techniques and tools to be able to kind of go there. But just to break it down is to be able to really get clear on what is the story that I'm telling myself every day, over and over and over again. And realizing, is that serving me or is it not? Is it moving me closer to where I'm wanting to be in life, or is it keeping me stuck? And if it's keeping you stuck, then how can we start to replace those thoughts and beliefs and identifications with something that does serve me, that does move me forward? And so that is really, that's sort of the special sauce of it all. Like, go into the core, go into the inner depths, that will begin to shift everything once we start to reorganize the thoughts and the beliefs and the values at such a core level, really doing the inner work.
Yeah, that really takes, like you said, spending some time with yourself and just becoming conscious of those things, because we have so many thoughts and we say so many things throughout the day. And if you're, not taking time to really think about it or absorb what you're taking in, what you're putting out, and those thoughts, then you'll do things or say things and you don't even realize it. So it really takes being conscious of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
Now, speaking of spending time with yourself, I remember like the first time that we connected and we were in conversation. I had to give you my mompreneur disclaimer that I had a 3-year-old in the background, and that you may hear some noise or some sound effects, some cartoons or toys, any of the above. And you were, totally chill, totally cool with it. And you're like, oh, I have kids too. And then one of your daughters made her grand entrance with her big hair wig on.
She had a huge wig. That's right. I forgot about that. It was bigger than her. It literally like hit the ground.
Yeah, I got to say hello,
right.
And it was like, oh, it's all good. We're moms, and we handle business. We do what we have to do. So, like, how do your mindfulness strategies help you, stay aligned or help you balance as a mom and an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think just not taking myself or anything too seriously, like realizing that if my kid comes in the background, like it's not the end of the world, like everything's not going to self implode. Keeping like a healthy sense of humor about it all, because I mean, like, and this is me again being really grateful for the last year. I think it helps so many people adopt such a different sense of flexibility and understanding that I think was long overdue, really. That it's really like, if you're not having fun during the process, what's the point? Like, if I am being so hard on myself about checking all the boxes off and making sure that my kids are in all the activities and they're eating all the perfect food, that's not fun. And like, really getting honest with ourselves that we only get one ride in this life. We get one chance to do this thing. And if we're stressed out and we're not enjoying the process, really, what's the point, and what example are we setting for our kids? And my kids have been my greatest teachers, hands down, by far, to date, because they keep me honest. They keep me on top of myself and the way I am, the way I'm treating myself, the way I'm treating others, the way I'm either reacting or responding to a situation, the way I'm relating to them when things get escalated. It's really been such an eye-opening experience, because there's this split second, like, oh God, they're watching, they're listening, that there's little ears, right? So it's like this different stance of accountability. So that really, I'm so grateful for that, because that has also transferred onto all other parts of my life. And, as far as bringing in the idea of balance, I don't know that that really exists, but I think just doing the best I can, giving myself adequate time for myself, making sure that I have some Stacie time, so that I am not completely, empty cup, worn out, angry mommy, or angry wife or whatever,
Right.
That's been huge. And for me, that can mean like when my husband gets home, taking a 30-minute walk by myself, or we've really collabed on our schedule. So like there's a day of the week that he does pick up and takes care of them after school. And that's my day to like get things done at the studio or on my coaching business. And, really to get honest with ourselves of how much we're trying to do, and that we're not supposed to carry all of the loads by ourselves. That what I have learned sometimes the hard way is I don't ask for help soon enough, as soon as I probably should at the beginning of feeling a little nudge, a sense of resentment starts to come up that I also have a choice to be able
Mm.
to allow in or not. And so I think as moms and business, and especially entrepreneurs, delegating, asking for help, being really okay with that, realizing that you aren't supposed to do it all. Nobody else expects you to. But I think we sometimes put on like the Wonder Woman suit, we
Yeah.
want to do all the things, myself included. But if we really want to be able to enjoy the process and do our best, we can't do it alone. And so
Right.
that has been really huge, being able to delegate and ask for help. And that's been huge. And just remembering to breathe too. That's been like the most simple thing that, I, with myself or with my kids, if any of us are getting kind of riled, it's like, all right, 3 breaths, slow, deep breaths, come back in, really starting to initiate that relaxation response in our bodies so that we can see clearly. Because when you're in a stressed out state of mind, you're not thinking clearly or seeing things clearly. And so being able to get back into that relaxed, calm space where you can take in everything that's happening and then choose your response, that has really been the biggest part of the whole picture that has helped me by far.
Right. Awesome. And I can definitely relate. I think that's sort of in the space that I had to go into over this
Mhm.
past year and even now. And it's helped me because like having him not go to mom's day out like the plan was, I had to make some adjustments. And like you said, get some help, delegate, automate where you can. But also, like you said, you have to look at the load that you're taking on just in general, whether you're delegating or automating or doing it yourself. And I had to be realistic about what I could take on and take some
Mhm.
things off of my schedule that I no longer enjoyed or that no longer were best for us as a family or just my business in general. And
Mhm.
start removing things until it felt better and just
Yes.
started start telling some people no, like it's okay to say no.
Mhm.
They'll find somebody else. It'll be okay. So setting those
100%.
boundaries with your time and with what you're willing and able to do and all of that. So I can relate.
Mhm. Oh yeah, man. I often talk about the power of no. And I don't know what has been ingrained in so many women, myself and so many women that I know. It's like our yes meter just wants to go off all the time. It's like, yes, I want to help you do that and I want to be part of this. And it's like, but we can't. And I heard this somewhere and I can't recall exactly where it was, but it was the idea of you can do everything, but you don't have to do everything right now. Like you can do anything you want. Like we can do anything that our heart desires, but we don't have to do all the things right now. Like we don't. But I think I think we can probably relate in this being like really passionate and multi-passionate and having a lot of different things that you want to be a part of. It's really getting honest with, I'm one human being that has a certain level of energy, that I have a lot of other things in my life that also need me. Like, what can I realistically take on right now? Yeah. And I love that, being able to just be like, sorry, not right now, maybe later, or no. It's so powerful, but
Mhm.
we make it feel uncomfortable. And I think the more, it's like, I like to say, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the easier it gets, right? The stronger you're able to be like, thank you so much for the opportunity, but that just doesn't resonate with me right now.
Right.
It's like, God, that feels good. Just to be like, no.
Right, exactly. I definitely had to practice it because we're just naturally nurturers, and
Yes.
but you're not supposed to work your fingers to the bone like that. And I guess for me it was like I have to hurry up and do. I don't know why I felt like I was in such a race to do everything, but now it just feels good to reverse that.
Yes. I know. I get it. I've definitely gotten to that space before, and it's like I'm burning the stick on both ends, and I don't know. And I'm, processing this as we're talking about it. I don't know if this is, again, going back to that whole, like, go to college, get the job, da 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 da, da, like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I think that it's healthy, obviously, to have that growth mindset and that evolutionary, I'm always expanding and growing, but to what end, right? Am I taking on these things? And can I get really honest about these three things that I'm involved in? Like, this one thing really doesn't light me up. Can that be okay just to release that? But
Mhm.
I totally get it. Like, I've been in that space to the point where I'm like, all right, this is not serving me any longer. Like, what can I let go? Because you
Right,
have to. And that's true self-care right
right,
there, really.
right.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is next? Like, where do you see yourself going next? Or do you have any projects that you're working on? Like, what do you have in store for the future?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've always got a million things going on up here. So it's the ones that I decide to pull down.
Yeah.
But really what I have what has become really clear to me in the last year is, there was a sort of like a partition in my mind, that was self created between the physical studio space and my coaching business, that I had separated them into two different entities. And I became really aware of that through having some downtime to be able to process and feel into that. And I have recently started feeling the strong call to really marry the two, bring those really close together. And that has also meant collaborating with some amazing businesses locally, some amazing businesses online, being able to bring in all of the parts of what Stacie Barber offers into sort of like a hub, right? Versus I felt like there was parts of me that were, sort of scattered there for a moment, and it's bringing
Mhm.
everything back home. So that's been really amazing. I've been working with a creative designer and, a whole team around that, that's just really helped me get clear on what it is that this looks like moving forward. So that's like super exciting to bring some of the coaching components into the studio space and bring what we do into the studio space into the coaching components. So really marrying that. And then in the next couple months, I'm going to be launching, my own podcast, which will be super exciting, continuing to have
Awesome.
conversations like this. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, really just nurturing the coaching business and calling in amazing women that really resonate, because it provides such a life force inside of me that I've never experienced with anything else that I've done in life. And so really allowing myself to take the time to nurture that and to be able to call in the women that are so deeply aligned into the work and are ready to make those big changes, and to get really honest and clear about all of the things that are sort of, the little speed bumps that they keep bumping up against, so we can get them out of the way so that they can
Right.
thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are really some of the projects that have been, I've really been waiting for things to come to me, because I've found if I go out scurrying looking for things, and I tend to get myself stuck in spaces that I'm not really meant to be. And so these projects have all really come to me and started to resonate with them. So that feels really important and aligned.
Yes, I've learned something similar about like just not being on the chase, like not chasing, but
Mhm.
continually being who you are and showing the value that you have, and in the right people who appreciate and understand and recognize that they will come. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
perfect.
Yes.
Well, congratulations to you on the podcast and your coaching and everything that you're doing with the mindful body. So share with our audience, like, how can they reach out with you to work with you, or
Mhm.
to get on the list to be on this smoking hot podcast, or or
Yes.
anything that you have going on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would love to hear from anyone. So there are a couple ways. At the beginning of the year, I ended up watching the documentary, The Social Dilemma, and immediately popped off of all social media platforms. For we'll see, but it felt really aligned for me. So I am the best place to find me is on my website, because when you land there, you get to learn about me, you get to learn about the programs I have. I've got some great freebies on there, be able to get on my email list to hear about things that are coming up. And so that's my name, staciebarber.com. Super simple. And then email, good old fashioned email. So it's my name again, stacie.barber@gmail.com. And so either way, I will get the message, and I would love to be able to connect.
Awesome. Keeping it simple. I like that.
Mhm.
I'm more of a Pinterest person. I am on some other platforms, but Pinterest is still my number one, and it doesn't suck up all of my day and my time. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
totally get it. SEO never fails you, even if you get kicked off of any of the platforms. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
it.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you guys have heard from Stacie Barber. And if you want to reach out, if you want to connect or stay connected with her, then definitely go to staciebarber.com and get on her list and get some goodies in the process. Thank you so much, Stacie, for joining us today at Dreamers Den.
Love that. Thank you.